All right. So it's great to be here. I know now 20 seminarians, we're still waiting on a couple more, are super excited about being here, about hanging out with all you, about spreading the gospel across the campus today. So far, this is actually my 10th evangelization trip. All right. Now, all I could say is, regardless of the weather, dealing with the snowstorms of Massachusetts, or dealing with the heat wave that hit Pittsburgh, regardless of the weather, regardless of the campus, regardless of the reception of the students, it's always been a very just fruitful and joyful time to be able to just do God's will, going out there spreading the gospel. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Nothing really special. My dad's an engineer, my mom's a third grade teacher, so for the most part, a somewhat normal household. I never was really too much interested in God growing up. Fortunately, my parents, they were Catholic. They were pretty good Catholics. They would go to Sunday Mass. But for me, I was always happy when I was able to skip Mass and stay home and just play video games. Now, it wasn't until about high school or so that I had a great pastor. He kind of inspired me and pushed me to consider the faith a little bit more. So I did. The other thing that kind of started to kind of turn in my mind that kind of helped me shift to taking the faith more seriously was realizing that it's all real, kind of having that encounter, realizing that it's real, and also realizing that what I'm doing here on earth does have eternal ramifications. So that's something that really kind of, in a way, did scare me straight to all right, I need to start walking, the path that, Jesus calls us to. Now, really kind of my conversion per se has been kind of a really long, drawn-out journey. There's really no moments that I can really point to in my life, be like, yes, this was where I became, I went from, being a heathen, partying it up, just living completely godless, to being, a seminarian or, striving for holiness. But I do have kind of a couple of examples of that kind of demonstrate where God has been in my life. One of them was when I was a freshman in college. I was studying for engineering, and the calculus was very difficult. I was having a tough time in that class. And what was just the worst was I just had terrible anxiety with tests. I would fret over the test. I would even get queasy at times thinking about it, planning, and then after I took the test, I would then worry about, crap, how did I do? What does this, mean? All that. And then eventually, at one point, I just remember God, giving it to Him, kind of remembering that Christ is the bearer of peace. So it's all right, give me peace, Christ, give me peace. And from that, really my test anxiety, my school anxiety just plummeted. I had, probably normal anxiety that kept me from just blowing off school completely. So I had some, I knew all right, I needed to do some work. I can't just not care. But it never was really a problem after that. I was wow, reflecting back, that was kind of a moment in which God really was in my life. Another point too, in college, I started going to weekday Mass. And something that kind of reflecting back on it, I always wonder why did I start doing that? Because in high school, there was one day, I think it was Ash Wednesday, I got to go to morning Mass, and then I got to miss first period class in high school. And all I could think of was, sweet, I get to miss class. Not caring about God, not caring really about the Mass. But then a couple years later in college, I find myself going to Mass multiple times a week. And kind of reflecting on it now, I kind of realized God was pulling me towards Him. He knew that that really like the ultimate way to find God is in the Mass. Another example, and I've explained this, or I talked about this to a couple of you already, how when I graduated college, I kind of had another kind of one of those like freak out moments of like, shoot, what do I do? Because I graduated with physics, and that's one of those degrees that you don't have a set career path. Okay, that it very much gives you a lot of options, and I just freaked out. I was like, what do I do? Do I go with my original plan of becoming a high school teacher, but then I got cold feet? I'm like, well, I don't know if I can handle high school students. I don't know if I want to do that. Do I want to be an engineer? Do I want to go down that path? And so that was just a whole summer of me going back and forth, back and forth. And then eventually God kind of slapped me across the head and said, priesthood. And I'm like, what? No. I knew it was there. Like it was always there, but it's something that I didn't want. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. But what was amazing was me knowing, like, hold on, if this is real, like I need to like at least give it a shot. Knowing that, once again, eternal ramifications, but also like happiness, fulfillment, all those things, if you follow God's will. So I ended up spending a lot of time in prayer over a course of like 6 months or even probably more. What was amazing, reflecting back, is God really turned my heart, where I went from not wanting seminary, not wanting the priesthood, wanting just to get a good job, find a wife and have a family, kind of go that route. But over the course of months, like God really changed my heart, where I didn't like hold on to that like life. I was able to kind of freely give that away and happily apply for seminary, happily say like, all right, like I want to do this. It was by my free will, not just God's will. So those are kind of just a couple of situations, a couple of examples of how God has really been working in my life, where it's been a slow process. There's never been a moment of profound experience. I've never had like a St. Paul kind of moment. But God, He's still work in my life today. Like I still am a sinner. I'm still very prideful. I still just want to do my own thing. I just want to do, want to be kind of selfish in that way. But I know that God is still working in me. Now, why I am here today in front of you guys at East Carolina University, kind of Pirates. Is very much kind of tied to conversion story as well. When I was just entering college, I had a group of Protestant friends. They were actually doing the exact same thing that we're about to do these next couple of days. They were going out 2 by 2, maybe groups of even 3, and they were talking and evangelizing onto the campus. And I decided to join them one day, and I thought like, oh wow, this is kind of cool. Like they're very much taking they're very much taking seriously God's words of evangelizing, all nations, baptizing all nations. But one thing that they did was they in turn told me, hey, why aren't you like Protestant? Why don't you like start coming to my church? And they kept on asking questions about like the Catholic faith, like why do you guys do this or believe that? I'm like, not really sure. Fortunately, I was stubborn enough to kind of ignore a lot of their claims. And I went back home and researched on the internet. YouTube was a great resource and still is, and really helped me kind of like learn how reasonable the Catholic faith really is. But coming back to evangelization, one of the channels, one of the websites that I really kind of plugged into, they were very much into evangelizing, taking seriously what Jesus calls the apostles to do, to go out and baptize all nations. So that's something that's kind of like pretty much all the way at the beginning of college. And then that whole like mindset or that whole thought really has been with me that whole time in college, in which I'm like, all right, I need to evangelize. Now, in college, I never knew like how to evangelize. Like I never really knew how to really like talk about the faith a whole lot. So it very much kind of like stayed underneath. But now in seminary, now like I heard about these college trips, I'm like, all right, this is a very kind of concrete and real way in which you're able to go out and evangelize, go out and spread the good news. And so that's really also the invitation for all of you here today as well. So us seminarians, I don't know how much Father Ian has kind of been explaining it to you, but what we're going to be doing is it's going to be 2 by 2. We're going to be going out there and just engaging with students. All right. It is very, very nerve-wracking. Okay. Trust me, I still get very nervous, and this is my 10th time. So it's something that it's just it's always there. It is always there. It's very intimidating, but God is with you. God has always been there to like help guide the conversations, to always help you out. And so if any of you are interested, the next couple days, I have no problem splitting up some of these seminarian groups and having you paired up with a seminarian. And guess what? The seminarian, he's going to be the one that takes the lead. Okay? He's not going to be the one that just throws you into the wolves. So he'll be the one. The seminary will be the one to help kind of take the lead. And the hope is then that you all kind of learn some of the skills, learn some of the ways in which you're able to talk about the faith and engage with others for not only continual evangelization after we leave, because we're only here for 2 days, but more importantly, a lifelong time of evangelizing. And then, on top of that, there's also going to be the other couple other opportunities is adoration will be is it the mall? Is that what it's called? The mall. And there's also going to be kind of a main table. And so if you want to maybe make it a little bit less intimidating, you can kind of help evangelize that way as well, where you're kind of in that table where there's some pamphlets or some things to hand out. And what I've found is quite a few students they'll be the ones to talk, like, hey, what are you guys doing here? Like, what's this all about? And you can engage with the faith with that as well. And then on top of that, then there's also the Eucharistic procession as well on Tuesday. And then, and I guess one last kind of plug as well, please invite any friends to these nights, these next 2 social nights, but also if you have any friends that you want seminarians to talk to, bring them right over, okay? We can definitely do that. It's not just us purely going out and talking to strangers, but like if you have anybody that you want us to talk to, we'd be more than happy to. All right. Thank you very much.